And welcome to OTB TV. I'm Alex Ansary. Today's date is March 23rd, 2019. Today we're going to be talking about 5G and the potential supernatural overtones. Why are we about to get, whether we want it or not, it's being rolled out not only nationwide, but worldwide, but in particular certain countries, Western countries. And there's a lot of additional information, like, for example, China's Huawei and this competition with, I guess, the US 5G plan. Now, I think that the whole thing really is being set up for the US infrastructure to fall, like in so many other areas of discussion. And how this is happening as we are coming up to what we might call the high risk area, danger zone, the red zone, if you will, as we move past 2020 into 2021. See, it's more people than people like myself, right? In the world now, they're talking about the possibility of World War III. And as we come out of the solar cycle and we begin to become bombarded again with this electromagnetic energy, which a lot of people don't understand the connection between the sun and civil unrest as well as wars. What I see with that understanding that I've already given to you about those connections between the energies, when you add on 5G on top of it, and it looks like there's some sort of attempt to get it rolled out and unleashed before the human population of the world, 2020. There's something about 2020 and that type of an infrastructure, which I'm not an expert on it. A lot of you probably have done more research than I, but it connects with the smart grid. It connects with the dystopian type of a grid that they want to unleash upon us. Now, let's say that there's a potential that the powers that be know, of course, we do know this part, right? They're aware of the threats to the sun upon our current grid, and we know that they have done nothing to back up this grid. This has been like an ongoing issue. What little they have done has been pathetic, but have the shadow government, have they themselves prepared themselves, whether it be shielding electronics deep underground or elsewhere? I mean, the answer is more than likely. We already know they have underground facilities. Why wouldn't they? It doesn't mean they're going to be indestructible. Who knows what's coming? Maybe what's coming upon the earth is destined to knock even the power establishment off of its podium, its sugar pedestal, which it stands on today. And it stands on today. The powers that be and their agenda is rolled out upon the population through propaganda, through the existence of the grid, through technology. So there's an element of the grid, the old infrastructure that appears very vulnerable to collapse. But it's possible that through 5G and other attempts, they're preparing to roll out their own new grid, even new internet. Whether or not we even have an EMP World War III situation, they're still planning to roll us out somehow, some way into the AI smart grid, self-driving car paradigm. And people have been talking about that for years. The transhumanistic agenda, even the threat of implantable microchips. The question is, what would happen? What would it take to bring the people to their knees, literally, in order to eat? A type of new high-tech infrastructure that's forced upon the population. But I would say especially the urban population. Obviously, there's more than one advantage to living off the grid. We're not immune from certain things at all. But one thing that I notice with some people that need Google Maps on their cell phone for direction, navigating certain areas, is that I've had the benefit here and other places. Costilla County is another place that comes to mind, where I've lived in like a true cell-free zone, to where, the average, without a booster, the average cell phone is just simply not going to work in certain regions. And what's coming is alleged to be something far more powerful with this 5G that's being rolled out. And so the question is, what areas will still be safe? But the greater awareness is some places will still be somewhat out of reach compared to what's being rolled out, say, in the downtown area like Portland, Oregon, where the mayor there, Ted Wheeler, is complaining about this rollout of 5G. And I've always seen Portland, Oregon as a target city of more than one thing, but a number of these things being a part of a cascade targeting by the shadow government on Portland, Oregon, and in the future, its people. So I look at 5G and the rollout as also being part of a grid that alters consciousness and perception, also known as a mind control grid. And this is what has most people's attention, that and the health risks. I think what people may look at a little bit less, but they shouldn't discount the possibility, is these new high-tech technologies, just like the geoengineering that we're also starting to see, more so on some days than others. But the effects of these technologies on some humans and some genetics, right? The effect of these technologies on some humans rather than other humans that may be affected in a less adverse way. Also, we shouldn't discount, like, the power of the mind over matter in our environment to shield ourselves, and the importance of learning how to do that when we're in these environments. Some people are going to be forced to enact in advanced levels of spiritual protection because at present they may not have the ability to go off the grid. And for me, my experience is my experience. There are other people that can handle these technologies and energies a little bit better. I myself saw the writing on the wall and saw some sort of an issue. I had a negative view of cell phones early on. I think that was a positive thing. Even my mother had a negative view of video games when I was growing up, and in hindsight is 2020, that was a good thing, but I couldn't see it as a youngster. As a youngster, that was something holding me back. As an adult, that was something that helped keep me away from a fond view of video games as a practice. But we now have a cell phone, video game addicted, YouTube in some degree addicted, social media addicted society, and it's the combination of the things that makes it not so much one thing, the combination of points that makes it toxic, the toxic experience. And so now people are thinking about health and wellness in the day and age of these things. And so it's not so much stepping back from certain websites and people getting their dopamine through false means, things of that nature, the false matrix, social media, Facebook, but also some of those actual devices, but also some of those very environments that become polluted. So I don't know what the future is going to look like, but it's always kind of been on this trajectory of where they want to take society. When you add in a technology, right, that has, this is probably one of the most important points, all of these speeds that is unnecessary really for a human. Do we really need that much server space? Right? I mean, it's like people aren't even at that level of quality streaming to begin with, and what they do need now, they already have. So why the extra push? And so when we already look at the potential of 4G, even 3G, the potentials of these technologies and artificial intelligence, which may even be a cover for lower entities, also known as archons, other names for some of these spiritual parasites that attack light beings in human form. And there's a lot more people that have had experience with things of this nature. And certain connections on the internet can magnify that, even certain servers, emails, especially when you think about the big corporate emails and the websites and the social media spectrum. I think we've always, as humans, have dealt with that shadow side of our world, the other side. Whether we're talking about earthbound spirits or whether we're talking about other things, like when you talk about technology and its application for other entities to surveil humans, and that which can be surveilled can be affected. I've been saying that for some time. So on an intuitive level, and based on experiences that I've talked about in other videos, recapping here, the overall idea here is that somehow, some way, by jacking up the speeds, that there could be a increased possibility of some people becoming possessed by this technology, living amongst it. It's interesting. It's like we've seen the writing on the wall to a certain degree of zombie apocalypse. But looking at certain technologies being in place, which can actually induce zombie-like behavior, that doesn't have the attention of enough people in this nation. In fact, some people that used to have some healthy questions about and distrust of the federal government now think, "Go USA!" Like things have changed for the better instead of it being like the same old agenda. That's not any less interested in the current presidency regarding radiating their ass. So a lot of people are drunk right now, intoxicated on the political matrix, and it is unfortunate. So that's basically what we're looking at with 2020, this announcement about this 5G rollout and tensions between the United States and China over who's going to have a monopoly on it. Well, if they're both rolling out the same 5G, couldn't China easily just like take over our grid and or with Russia and just boom, here's a new 5G? Somehow like piggyback on the infrastructure that we're rolling out. And by the way, is the 5G that's going to be rolled out in the United States going to be paid for with money borrowed from China? Because there's really something deeper going on behind the scenes regarding the trade war, the upcoming Third World War, and the upcoming potential hacking of U.S. infrastructure, our technological grid, even one day, even seeing foreign troops on our soil. There's a deeper reason how all of these possibilities, possible outcomes, came to be to begin with. And it begins with the inside tier of that which controls this government. And there's a level that we don't see. They have us watching the guild actors and they get us all pumped up and fighting each other in the streets, literally. And I could say that metaphorically and say literally, they are fighting in the streets over manufactured conflicts. And so there's like whole groups of people that don't see this. Like, there's a number of different things that can jar you awake. One of them is that there's no real like major anti-war movement anywhere. I mean, sure, there's Antifa fighting Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys, but on neither side does that really represent an anti-war movement. Nor do those really tactics represent our tactics. Like, where are we, like the small guy, out there in today's day and age? Where are we being represented? Well, the answer is the algorithm is working against us. Back to AI and algorithms. Where were we in all this? 5G. So with algorithms and YouTube, it tries to socially engineer my opinions. And I've only shown you like, 1/1000th of the examples. I still see more examples than I'm willing to even like catalog and count, but I see it. And I distrust YouTube more and more by the day, especially when it auto suggests things to me that are just like, is there a mad scientist, running this whole show? Or is this really just some accidental, expression of YouTube's AI? But what is AI really? We can see what this machine feeds on: fear, anger, things of that nature. Yet if someone expresses, a little bit of righteous anger when there's an injustice, maybe raise their voice, maybe use a profound word against the system, this group or that group, they can find their video demonetized. They can find themselves marginalized. We see ourselves marginalized as dangerous conspiracy theorists where we actually watch the mainstream media use the word conspiracy over and over and over and over and over and over and over as we watch these hearings and we watch these unravelings, whether it's the FBI, this Mueller investigation, even though it's their own thing, it's still an endorsed version of conspiracy thought. And what we really have then with their attack on us is the ultimate war on consciousness, on thinking for ourselves. And that is the ultimate conditioning process. It's happening to our peers. It's happening with the use of technology. And so long term, we are looking at a major battle. A major war for our mind is taking place. And that's what's being executed. Things certainly wouldn't be easy if we were knocked back to the Stone Age after a major solar event. And I'm not going to promise that. But as these things build, as the announcement build, it's all still part of the same plot under this whatever type of reality, false world, fallen world reality, where we are waking up and remembering, through these events that are taking place. They're causing these microcosmic earthquakes within our own consciousness to where it's pulsating, and we're awake. By the way, we're coming out of the wake of AR 2736, which is the most recent sunspot to be active, maybe the first sunspot to be active this year. And so, this is also going to be driving a lot of energy forward. Right now is also a highly energized time coming out of the full moon. And so, in conclusion, this is one of the greatest threats that the grid has to human health. It's the 5G rollout that the people didn't vote on, the threat to their human health, the threat to their physical health. And so the question is, right, what's going to stop this type of a madness? Is it going to take some sort of an act of nature to reel this back, or is humanity going to become conscious and start to look at these things like the health risks that they are? Or are we going to continue to be on a highway to hell? Is this world the zombie apocalypse art that we've been seeing for years and years has really been coming from? I'm Alex Answer, signing off.